Evan Grant is on the scene for the Dallas Morning News. Evan, what's going on, dude? Wait, what's wrong with you two?
I don't know. Ask
Yeah.
Evan.
What did you do that I'm pissed
He's
off
excited to talk to you.
Oh, he should be.
Yeah, and you saw the Astros leading up to this series, but Evan, in terms of what we've got tonight, what are your expectations? And also, of course, I think it all starts with what we think A, Max Scherzer has in the tank in terms of how many pitches, but B, the effectiveness of those pitches. Slider did not have the same bite, which we've seen at times from him this year. And the fastball velocity was there, but it didn't seem like he was putting it where he wanted every time. So what do you think?
I think the big issue that he was not happy with was the slider, and I think that came into play in the two-pitch sequence in I guess it was the third inning of that start. The velocity was fine. It was the command of the slider, and it felt like he was overcompensating for feel one way or another. And he came away from that saying, okay, guy didn't want to say, look, this is the playoffs, I've got a baseline. But that's basically what they had to do after 37 days of not pitching. He does have a baseline. He is a guy who hopefully can adjust off of that and take it into today. Bruce Bochy's going to have a full bullpen behind him. He's not going to wait around long if Max doesn't have it and let this game get out of hand. But how often do you get an opportunity to start a guy who's got Game 7 experience? Not just Game 7 experience, but Game 7 experience in a win in this very park. So I think the Rangers are lined up about as good as they could possibly be lined up for this situation. And now it's just a question of whether or not Max can go out there and execute, and whether or not the Rangers can score a couple of runs early off Christian Javier and start to take the crowd out of it a little bit.
Evan, how just unbelievable has this series been? You got two old school managers and two veteran teams. You got obviously Boch and Dusty, and just two veteran teams, laid back, Scherzer, Verlanders, and obviously the superstars in between. Just how unbelievably just old school baseball. You have obviously the arguments, the fights that's going on, and the emotions. How awesome has this series just been?
Well, look, Adam, I want to say this, that when the Rangers went to Baltimore for the division series, that atmosphere there, that was playoff baseball in Baltimore. That crowd was into it. That's a baseball town. I think you come to Texas, and these two places are still a little bit, even though the Astros have had success lately, I think the idea that baseball is the be-all and end-all is kind of new to these fan bases. And so what I've seen take place over the course of this series is these two groups really, really get into it. Clearly, Houston's a little bit farther ahead when it comes to that, thanks to 2 World Series wins and 7 ALCS appearances in a row. But over the last 2 or 3 games, this has become not just an ALCS and not just a rivalry, but kind of a blood feud, for lack of a better term. It just got nuts in Game 5 in Arlington. The way the series turned on 1 3-run homer by Garcia, which looked like that was going to be the Rangers' Jose Bautista moment to take a page from their traumatic past, and then to have it turn around on Altuve, of all people, 2 innings later, when it looked like this team was about to go ahead 3-2. It just turned everything up another notch. And I think it's good that both the Cowboys and Texans were off this week so that baseball could really take center stage. And I do think regardless of what happens tonight, there's a new great rivalry in Major League Baseball, and it's going to be the Astros and Rangers for several years to come.
Evan, I've seen your tweets. I've seen all your stuff you've been putting out there. You really think Brian Abreu threw at Garcia on purpose? Now, no, don't take off your Texas Ranger colored glasses. Take off your big cowboy hat that's blue and red and deep in the heart of Texas, okay?
I'll go take my cowboy hat back from A-Rod that he got from Poppy on the show the other night.
No, he wore his. Remember, it was Jeter that was like, I don't ain't wearing this.
I give Jeter credit for that. Listen, here's what I think. I don't think that Martin Maldonado called for a pitch inside. I don't think Dusty had any intention for Abreu to throw at Adolis Garcia. But I do think, especially with the fact that MLB cited all 6 members of the umpiring crew, that perhaps Brian Abreu got caught up in the moment and said, you guys threw it at Alvarez. This guy hit a home run and pimped it. I'm going to show him. Stupid move? Yeah, stupid move. Did it end up potentially igniting the Astros a little bit more? Yeah, it did. But the only person who can answer that, AJ, is Brian Abreu. But I know that what you're saying, and I've talked to some other former players, and everybody says, look, your head tells you logically there is no way he is throwing at him, but your eyes tell you that the optics of that situation were really, really bad.
Yeah, it was bad optics. It looked bad. But speaking of looking bad, we just showed the replay. Adolis Garcia didn't get suspended. He got fined. He is the one that caused the problem. He turned to Martin Maldonado, put his finger in his face, walked away, and then charged back behind the pile to try to get some more. So how is it fair that Abreu possibly could be suspended, although we're hearing different things, and Garcia got what, $250? I mean, he's like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, fines are bigger than that now.
What are they?
I know it's been a while since you've been fined, but fines
I was
are
never
bigger than
fined
that.
in my career.
Was it $250 when you were fined?
I got fined $250 for the Michael Barrett fight. Does that count?
That's it?
That's it. After appeal,
$250?
I appealed it down.
Wow.
It's
And
a donation.
It
What
is a
are
donation to
fines now?
bat.
Adam, what are fines? $2,000?
It
They
depends.
range.
Yeah, it depends. I remember the biggest one I've seen was Jamie Walker got fined $5,000. Remember Jamie Walker?
Yeah,
Old crafty
booked him.
lefty.
Booked
He
him.
got. I mean, that wasn't that. Don't gloat on that one. He he got fined $5,000 because he said something about the umpire betting on the game, and that was the same thing that same time around Donahue came out with all that kind of stuff. So he was like, "Hey, you call that close? Was he betting on the game or something?" And he's like, "Man, I got fined $5,000 for that." I'm a 22-year-old rookie over there, just like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but I ain't gonna say that.
Look, quite frankly, I was a little bit surprised that anybody got suspended out of this. But I've talked to different people, and there are different people who say different things. That if anybody got suspended, maybe it should have been Dusty for refusing to leave the bench. I've had people say, look, it looked like Adolis put his hands on the umpire, even though I think what he was trying to do was just free himself. But certainly there are people who say, he put his hands on the umpire there, and why is that not a suspendable offense? It's a tough position for Major League Baseball to be in. And I don't think there are any easy answers. And from my perspective, I would hate to see a series take place in which one of these teams was not at full strength based on the actions of discipline.
Do you feel like Abreu is going to be able to pitch tonight?
It's a great question, Eric. I have a feeling that this suspension will be, well, let's say it gets reduced. Even if it's reduced to one game, he's not going to be able to pitch tonight because he's got to serve it immediately. So I think that in all likelihood, yeah, he's not going to be eligible to play tonight.
So is that going to be the Astros' excuse for losing then? Or because there's got to be a key for each team. There's a key for each team. And what is it? Is it Abreu not being there? And the players would never say it, but our fans going to say, well, if Abreu hadn't gotten suspended.
Well, we know players and fans live in two different realities, right? And yeah, if it's the fans' perspective, it's going to be, Abreu wasn't eligible. If it's the players' perspective, I think the Astros are going to have to give some credit to the Rangers if the Rangers come down here and win four games in their building. On the other hand, I mean, if the Astros win, I think the Rangers have to look at it and say, that's what a championship team does. They execute in key situations, and there were a couple of situations in games 4 and 5 in which the Rangers simply didn't execute as well as they needed to, and that may be the difference in this series. It's been a really close series, and I think that all in all, when this is all said and done, you're going to have two teams who are going for a long time, continued for the Astros to be at the top of the American League West and the American League power rankings.
Where are we on the bullpen for the Rangers? So you explained Max's situation. How do we feel about, first off, Chapman? Were you surprised that he wasn't used in the game?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest vote of no confidence that the Rangers got to. Now, he was warming up in the ninth. But, yeah, both my columnist and I, we looked at each other when in the 8th inning, and we were surprised that Bochy did not get Chapman up and did not have him warming up and did not bring him in to face any left-handers. So that was interesting. The good news on Chapman is, if he had pitched last night, he's been really, really ineffective on back-to-back days. And so I'd be even more leery about bringing him in tonight. He is fresh. Question is, how fresh would Leclerc be? Obviously, Leclerc would be used if necessary. I think the only guy probably who can't pitch is going to be Eovaldi. I just don't know how Nate comes back after 90 pitches and pitches in relief the next day. But I think this club has every arm available that it possibly can have. The hope would be that if you can get the Spores, Leclerc, and Chapman in some order. And if you need to, you may go to somebody like John Gray in the middle. If you need to get if you need a right-hander to get a couple of guys out, I think that he's got the best stuff out there right now, even though he hasn't been a reliever.
So Montgomery's on the board?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Why not?
No, I agree. So, I mean, Eovaldi pitched last night. He's not pitching today.
But that's how much
of
a dude Eovaldi is that we're even
Eovaldi, yeah.
that.
The fact that we're even mentioning that is.
Yeah.
Hey, have you seen? We kind of got into this fight earlier a little bit, and I went to follow up after I ask you this question. But is Nate Eovaldi the best big game pitcher we got going right now?
Well, I'll tell you this. We went back and looked. He's the best postseason pitcher the Rangers have ever had, and they had some really good performances from both Cliff Lee and Colby Lewis in 2010 and 2011. You talk to anybody who played with him in 2018, and I know Brock's not on today, but Brock has mentioned that before. What Nate did in the postseason in 2018, particularly that 6-inning relief outing, he is a guy who lives for the moment, and that is the same thing that Rangers players echoed all night last night. This is a guy that they feel extreme confidence with in a big situation. I think he relishes it. I think he cherishes it. Chris Young's description last night was using the word winner as a noun, adjective, adverb, every possible way to describe Nate Eovaldi, who, ironically enough, was like this team's last of the big free agent signees over the winter. They really only got Eovaldi after they kind of lost out on Conforto, and they said, all right, Nate wants to pitch here. We've got the money left. Let's go get Nate Eovaldi. And he's given this pitching staff its identity.
Okay, so Scherzer's tonight. Eovaldi, we've just talked about it. Was he 9-1 his last 10 starts or whatever it is in postseason? He's been incredible, his team. Scherzer tonight. Verlander we can throw in there. Even Kershaw. These are probably the three biggest starting pitcher names of this generation. None of them have really had that moment in the postseason like Eovaldi's had, right? Like Wheeler's having in Philly, like certain guys have had. Is tonight Scherzer's chance? And why have they not been able to do this after being so dominant in the regular season, the postseason? It's been a struggle for these guys.
I think, one thing you have to look at is how much deeper the playoffs go these years, now, the extra rounds, and how much that adds to pitchers' stress level. I do think if you look back at Scherzer's 2019, there are some pretty good numbers in there, and it was gutsy of him to come out, pitch Game 7 in the World Series here in Houston and get the 5 innings that they got out of him. But yes, there haven't been those moments for those guys where you say, this is Bob Gibson, this is Kurt Schilling, this is, a big game postseason pitcher. And the one that's always been a mystery is Kershaw. I don't know why he just hasn't had the success in postseason that he has during his regular season. But I think Max's numbers in postseason, save for that start he made for the Mets last year, have generally been pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at the game log. I mean, there's a lot of really good looking Max Scherzer.
Yeah, but there's not like that one like Jack Morris, John Smoltz.
Well, but nobody does that.
But
anymore.
I'm saying, but Scherzer's
That's
the one.
the
But
thing,
these three
right?
are the
Who's
guys.
going to throw a complete game?
But
They're
these
not
three
even
are
allowed
the.
to go that.
But those three are the guys that could give you 8 with 2 hits and no runs. Like those are the guys you think of going into it. You don't think Nate Eovaldi's going to go out and shove, right? You don't think that. You think, okay, well, oh man, we got Scherzer going today. We're winning.
But still, Eovaldi.
I mean, Strasburg did it. Strasburg did it in 19. That was what got him $270 million for 30 innings.
Okay, can I give you Scherzer in 2019? I mean, he made 6 starts, 5 innings, 3 runs, 1 inning, I guess, a bullpen appearance, 3 strikeouts. So really 6 appearances. Then against the Dodgers, NLDS, 7 innings, 1 run. Against NLCS, against St. Louis, 7 shutty, 11 Ks. And then in the World Series, 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 innings, 2 runs.
Which is great, but what I'm saying is like
he's had some good times.
I understand. I'm not saying they've been horrible, but I'm saying they haven't had that moment where you're like, damn. Because when I think of Scherzer, Kershaw, Verlander, those are like the 3 dudes of the last 10 years that have been the best 3 pitchers. You can maybe throw in someone else, but those are the 3 guys I think of, okay?
Yeah.
Kershaw's obviously had his struggles. He got his World Series in 20. Verlander kind of had a moment last year when he won Game 6 for Houston, right? But, I mean, Scherzer, yes, he won the World Series in 19, but Strasburg was the MVP, okay? And I'm not saying he's pitched terrible, but I'm waiting for, and I know he's hurt this year, so it's not fair to put him on it this year, but like when he was healthy, you were thinking like, oh, shit, Scherzer, we're getting Scherzer. He's going to give us 8, 2 hits, no runs, go right to the closer, series over, we win. It hasn't happened like
Nobody
that.
goes 8 anymore. I mean, dude, even 2013, I'm looking like 7 innings, 2 runs, 11 Ks. 7 innings, 1 run, 13 Ks. Like he had some, and there were a couple bad ones in there too.
Yeah, but there's that's fine. I'm just asking.
I understand.
It's just general.
I think Scherzer's different for me. I think he's had
Scherzer's great. I love Max, so I don't want anyone to think that.
No, I know.
And I think, guys, I think you guys can all speak to this, right? But managers it's just not the way the game is managed anymore. You know, you're going to go to your leverage guys in the 8th and 9th inning. If you get there, you're not going to let pitchers face batters a 4th time. It just doesn't happen anymore. It's the way the game has changed. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, that's a debate for another show. But it is the state of the game right now.
Mm-hmm. Fair. All right. Lastly, what else? Anything else you're looking for tonight? Who do you think's going to win? What else on the Rangers side has to happen? I mean, we talked about the pitching side of things. Like Ken mentioned, who did he mention? Seager, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was his kind of key since Corey's been okay, not great. Semien finally came around. I think he was on base more in Game 6 than he was on for all of the prior games. What are you seeing?
For me, it's Semien. If Marcus took 2 walks last night and he had 2 hits, he has struggled to adjust to the way the Astros have pitched him. They pitched him away, and it looks like he's tried to reach out and kind of pull balls that he can't pull, and that's led to the number of pop-ups he's had. I think last night he started to make that adjustment, and if he gets on and if he scores runs, that's the key to this offense. He makes this offense go, and he makes Seager that much more dangerous behind him, and it makes Adolis Garcia. How was a guy who hit a 3-run homer and a grand slam in his last 2 games get any more dangerous? But it makes Adolis that much more dangerous.
You think they win?
Who wins? What's the score?
Good Lord, AJ. What's the score?
Yeah, what's the score? Put your money where your mouth is.
Well, also, Evan, just keep in mind, I mean, media people do this all the time. If you're wrong, it just gets buried. If you're right, we show it forever.
Well, and if I'm right, don't worry. I'll be citing this tomorrow. If I'm wrong, I will. This never existed. Let's go. Hey, I am not predicting. I predicted the Rangers before this series, to quote myself, in 7 for no reason other than this team has defied predictability all year. So I'll stick with the Rangers, and I say they're going to win it 6-4.
Okay. All right.
I like it.
Okay, good. Say it with your now. Before I let you go, I got to ask you this one question: why in the world, if you don't know who Jeff Fry is, we had Jeff Fry on the show.
Yeah.
And Derek Holland have been going at a Twitter war for like the last 4 days.
Over what?
Just over the home run from Garcia, and you just have, and then some reason, Evan, why the fuck did you jump in the middle of this? Like you could have just stayed out on the outskirts like me and text Derek Holland and be like, dude, he's blasting your ass, and then him get mad, but it's not on Twitter. Meanwhile, you just jumped right in the middle. Why would you do that?
Because A, I'm an idiot. B, I mean, here's one thing I would say to everybody, right? The game has changed, and it doesn't get played the way you guys played it necessarily, and it doesn't get played the way the generation before you played it. But the game is still enjoyable, and I just hate when former baseball players go out there and trash the game today. The game always changes. It may not be what you agree with. It may look different to you, but the game changes. And I just feel like Jeff has gotten to a point where he's kind of become that old man yelling at clouds about the game in my day, and it's not a good look.
There you go.
All right. I appreciate it. I just found it hilarious that you jumped in the middle of that.
There's never an argument I won't jump in the middle of. And I will tell you this, too. Robbie Grossman has far better restaurant recommendations than you've ever had, AJ.
Whoa. Now
You don't
that's
ever ask
fighting
me.
words.
Yeah, because you don't ever ask me. You don't ever ask me.
Pinkerton's Barbecue in Houston. Not that anybody's going to get here for the World Series if the Rangers win. And obviously the original Ninfa's, which I had just been to for the first time. But 2 great recommendations.
You ever been to Irma's?
Oh, I've been to Irma's a million times.
Oh,
I thought Ninfa's was better.
Really?
I'm gonna take the under on a million times.
Eric, have you seen my body lately?
Might be a push.
Millionth customer.
Let's put it this way. I've eaten 1 million tortilla chips at Irma's. Let's go with
There
that.
you go.
Okay,
Irma's is
that's
tough
fair.
to
Taking
beat,
the
really.
over there. Evan, great to have you on. Enjoy in person. We're jealous that you're there. Have fun, and we'll talk to you tomorrow after you get your 6-4 prediction right.
Peace, guys. Take care.